Well, good evening. How are you all doing? I hope you are doing well. Well, this is a real quick update on the Camaro. As you've seen in the last video or so, I finally got the motor up and running and the car moving under its own power. But at that point, I had a bit of a fuel pressure issue. I thought I had an issue, but I actually didn't. What was going on was that when you turn the electric pump on, I have a black Holly pump at the rear of the car by the factory gas tank, which comes up to a regulator. And then I go from the regulator with a -8 line to a fuel log to my carburetor. When I just turned the electric pump on, I got a fuel pressure gauge there on my fuel log. It would go to 9 psi. And it would hold rock steady. When I would start the engine and even idling, it would maintain that. And after approximately 4, maybe 5 minutes, the fuel pressure would slowly drop off, right down to almost 3 at some times. It was quite alarming because, as you know, you don't want to run these things too lean. So I started doing some investigating, and I changed to another gauge, and the same issue. So what I thought it was going to be was the black pump that's on here and the regulator and the -8 braided line and the fuel log is what I ran on the Mustang with this motor. Absolutely no issues. That's a 140 gallon an hour pump. But now on the Mustang, from the fuel cell up to the regulator, I had ½ inch line. Now on the Camaro here, I have a stock tank with a 3/8 line to the Holly black pump. From the Holly black pump to the regulator is also 3/8. And then I have, like I explained, my -8 braided line and fuel log. So I thought that maybe when I would take the line off the carburetor, the -8 line going to the fuel log, I put it in a bucket. All kinds of fuel came out when I turned the pump on. So that told me there was no blockage in the line and there was lots of flow. So then my next thought was that the 3/8 line was too small to feed the larger -8. It would flow the fuel, but it just, I guess, for lack of being able to word it a different way, it wouldn't pressurize the -8 line is what I thought. And I really wasn't looking forward to putting bulkhead fittings in the bottom of a tank to run ½ inch line or -8 ½ inch hard line or -8 braided line from the back to the front. I mean, it's a brand new gas tank, and welding a sump in it or drilling holes and putting bulkhead fittings in it in the bottom just wasn't on my agenda to do. So I did some research and come to find out it was the gauges I was using. I'll be the first to admit when I screwed up by not knowing, and that's what happened. During my research, what I found out was that a liquid-filled gauge that has glycerin in it is great for machinery, motors, anything that has a lot of vibration. It steadies the needle and stuff, but the biggest fault of a liquid-filled gauge is it's very temperamental to heat, and that's what was going on. You can Google it or YouTube it or whatever you want to do and learn about it, but when the gauge gets hot, the fluid inside expands, which lowers your fuel pressure. So that's why my fuel pressure was maintained until the motor warmed up and the gauge was absorbing the heat. just as a jury rig to check that, this is the gauge I had on the cowl of the Mustang. I just converted it over and I screwed it in there. It looked kind of silly, but that proved it was the gauge. Like I said, I didn't trust the first gauge. I changed a couple gauges, but they were all liquid filled. I learned my lesson there. Like I said, I'll be the first to admit when I do something wrong, and I really didn't know any better. I learned my lesson, and the reason I'm putting it out here is maybe it will help someone else. Anyway, we still got. I had my 750 on in that video, and I got it idled down, and it runs real good. I got a bar. My 850 just isn't happy. We tried doing a bunch of things to it, and it's not working well. There's something wrong with the idle circuit. We'll get it figured out, and I just have my buddy Mike's Demon Claw on here. It's an older carburetor, but he went all through it, and we're going to give it a shot and see if we can get this to work. Anyway, that's a quick one. Talk to you later. See ya.